Welcome to another Pilates Bar class at Wonderland Kinetics. Today we have joining us Zenobia and Candace for their Pilates Bar session. Today we'll be focusing on a lot of toning workouts. Let's get straight into the warm-up. Have a good sumo squat, nice big reach and down, nice and fast-paced as we're trying to warm up those legs. Keep good breath flow. Make sure to have a good squeeze on your glutes and ensure that your feet are not rolling inwards. Let's do a few more. And pulse it out, keeping a good posture with your back. Ribs are not flared out but rather pushed down. And get back into those big breaths. Legs are feeling nice and warm. Let's get a good stretch on those hamstrings and touch the opposite foot. Whilst rotating, try and look up at the ceiling and pick up the pace a little bit. Getting a good burn in that leg. Have a good torso twist. There we go, pulse it out, pulse, 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 good, keep that little pulse on your leg as well as your torso twist. Other side, pulse it out. Good, get back to a nice wide stance. We're going into a side lunge. Make sure to have your torso moving onto your thigh, getting nice and low. We have our bum sticking back as far as you can get it, and a good lean forward. Nice and controlled movements, and breathe. Let's pulse it out. Feeling the pulse right in your glute area. Move it to the other side. And let's switch, staying as low as you possibly can, going from a sumo to a side lunge without getting up. Good, feeling all warmed up and ready. In our sumo stance, make sure those feet are rolling outwards, squeeze your bum and pulse it out. Arms are in first position. Lifting into a calf raise, alternating, and then arm up with that leg. Stay as low as you can, don't come up, and keep that sumo nice and low. Keep that squeeze on your glutes. Core is tight. Pulse it out, arms going in and out. You should feel a good burn in those legs by now. Pulse, pulse, pulse. Keep pushing, almost there. Next one, a double calf raise. Keeping that sumo still as low as you can. And don't feel bad moving around. Get a place that's comfortable for you. We're going into some unilateral work, having your feet in a courtesy position, So your heel and your toe of your opposite feet are in line. Moving your knee towards your heel. You're going to go down and then squeeze your bum at the top. Try and keep your hips aligned and keep that balance. Going into a little attitude, so slight bend in your knee, lifting with your glute. Make sure you can feel a good squeeze in your glutes. So just showing similar to a front attitude, it's just backwards. Keeping your balance, using that bum. Have good tension in your foot. Make sure your core is activated. If you feel a little unstable on your mat, you can just move off your mat. Sometimes it's a little bit too soft and then you lose your balance. We're doing the other side now, going back into that curtsy. Moving your heel and your knee close together. Get a good squeeze of your glutes at the top. Let's get back into that attitude. Back leg lift with your glutes doing all of the work. Make sure your supporting leg is slightly bent. We never want to lock out our knees. Going to the other side into a straight glute kick back. You still have a very slight bend, but it's more straight. Pulse it out. Let's get that last little bit of juice out of your legs. Other side, straight leg kick back. Pulse it out. Pulse, tiny and quick, controlled movements. Good job. Let's move into our next one, which is a front to back lift. Okay, got a good demonstration. Let's add those arms in. Up and out and forward. Move your arms in whichever way you feel comfortable. Each person would find this one slightly different where their arms are most comfortable. Let's go to the other side. Changed it just to forward and sideways as it was slightly confusing to the class, so we took away one of the arm positions and made it a little easier. Let's get back into that sumo stance. Take a good breath. Your legs should be feeling quite warm now. Let's get down as as low as you can touch the floor, trying to keep that pelvic area as stable as possible for as long as possible before moving your torso down. Make sure your feet are rolling outwards and the inside sole of your foot isn't flattening. Let's stretch it out. Deep breaths. Let's get a good stretch on the side. You don't have to lift your foot. You can keep your foot down if you prefer. And move to the other side. Get a good stretch of that inner thigh. Good, let's move on. Grab your band. If you don't have a band, any elastic type material could work, such as stockings. And of course, you don't have to use a band. All of these movements will be just as challenging when done correctly without a band. So you'll see I'm placing the band under one knee and above the other knee. Weights in your hands in a staggered stance. We're going to do a row. Make sure you get those elbows in as we're targeting a different muscle group than elbows out. We have our kickback with a row. If your band moves around a little bit, just leave it, let it be. It'll find a space where it's happy. Keep those movements nice and controlled. Try not to stick out your tummy. Keep your core activated and breathe. Let's pulse it out. Challenging those stabilizing muscles as well. Let's get into a small lunge with a shoulder press. When your arms are above your head, try not to arch your lower back. Keep those ribs down, don't let them flare. Nice and controlled movements. If you feel more comfortable opening your legs a little wider, you're more than welcome to do so. Try and get good flowing movements. And try and keep your feet aligned straight forward. You can use a 1 kg dumbbell, a 2 kg or 3 kg, whichever you are more comfortable with, just as long as you can do nice good paced movements while controlling them. Here we have a bicep curl with a glute kickback. That glute has been activated by our warm-up, so it shouldn't take much to feel the burn. If your leg is going up very high, you're rotating your hips outwards too much. Try and keep those hips facing forward. Cuddle those dumbbells in front of your chest, and we're going into a bent leg to straight leg kick. Keeping control the whole time. Feel free to put that foot down in between if you feel like you can't stabilize enough. If you want to challenge yourself more, then don't touch the floor. Let's have a good stretch. Those legs have been working really hard. Now the good news is we have a whole other side of our body that we also have to do. So grab those dumbbells, we're getting back into it, exactly the same sequence, but on the other side. You should feel slightly more comfortable knowing what to do this time around, so focus on control, activating those muscles, feeling it in the hamstring, the glute, your supporting leg. You should also be feeling it now since we've already worked that glute. Activate that core, pulse it out, and squeeze your back. Imagine pulling your elbows behind you. Going into our shoulder press with our lunge next. Keeping those feet aligned forward, ribs down, tummy in, and control. Bicep curl with a kickback. Keep nice constant breathing and really focus on which muscles are supposed to be working. Bent leg kickback. Make sure that supporting leg is not locked but has a slight bend. Keep moving, bend and kick. Keep it going. Well done. Let's give those glutes a quick rest. Grab your towel, get some water. We still have quite a while to go. We still have our band around our knees. We're going to grab those weights again. You could of course use some filled water bottles, anything that has some weight to it. But once again, these exercises can be done without any resistance. We're going into a W arm row and lifting our feet into a tabletop position. Keep those ribs down and lower back firmly pushed into the mat. Focus on control. If you feel your legs are dropping a little, just pull them back into position. We want a good 90-degree bend. Constant breathing. Arms straight above your shoulders. Get your feet back up. We had a little quick rest and we're going into a Pilates diamond. Keeping those toes together all times and knees moving out and in. Focusing to use your abdominal muscles to help with this exercise. Pushing your belly button down and your lower back firmly into the ground. Try not to have any bounce back on your band, but rather controlled movement. This exercise could feel easy if you're bouncing with your legs. And we're moving into a regular clamshell, keeping those feet and knees out away from each other. And quick rest. Give a good stretch, get those tummy muscles stretched. We have our one leg up, holding it by the knee, and the bottom leg pulsing it out right above the floor. Just a slight hover. Once again, focusing on your abdominal muscles, not letting them relax, pushing your lower back into the mat. We have good tension in that leg, having a pointed foot. And moving to the other side. Just a quick and tiny pulse. Abs are contracted. Roll it up slowly. And we're going to get to a wall. If you don't have a wall, you can do this exercise without it, but it is very good to have the support behind your back as to keep a good posture. We're going back into that Pilates diamond, making sure your back is completely flat against the wall and your abdominals are contracted. No bouncing on the band, keep a controlled movement. You can feel where it's comfortable to put your band, so if you do have very slippery pants on that day, your band might want to move around. So move it up and down until you find a space where it is happy. As we pulse it out, make sure not to bounce on your band, but rather have a very controlled movement. You're taking your legs right to that outer edge and keeping them there with a slight pulse. We're going into some leg extensions, focusing on a contracted core, constant breathing. You can have a slight bend in your leg or a bigger bend if you do feel like this one is a little hard. This is not an exercise we often do, so it might feel really strenuous to you. If you can't get your heel lifted off the floor, just do a knee lift. Keep that heel down, but lift your knee up for me. We're moving to the other side. Same thing, tummy tight. Try not to just drop your foot on the floor, but rather control. During this section we were speaking about spinal alignment and how important posture is, keeping those shoulders back and spine nice and aligned. Let's take that band off and go into our Terra band. So this is an open band, and we're going into some leg presses. So your arms are going to stay stationary, they're not going to move whatsoever. Your legs are going to be pushing. Imagine trying to place your feet straight on the ceiling. Getting a good bend, stretching your glutes out, and then pressing up with your heels. Try and keep those hands completely still so you get good resistance from your band. Lower back is still pushed into the mat with a tight core. Keep it going, almost there. Quick and tiny movements, focusing on that knee, moving your knee forward and backward slightly. Let's move into some upper body movements. Placing your hand shoulder width so that you have a good stretch on your band when it's overhead. Focusing on a pull outwards when your arms are overhead, working right into the lat muscles. Nice and controlled movements. Your tummy is still tight and your lower back is still pushed down. Side to side lean, keeping tension on your band the entire time. You're going to be pulling with one arm downwards, getting a good torso twist, and a good side bend into those obliques. Keep your range in a comfortable range, so don't go too far. You still want to feel your obliques and interrib muscles are working, but you don't want to overexert. Give it a good stretch and go up into a crunch, holding your band right on your thighs or on your knees depending on how high you feel comfortable in going. This is a very controlled movement, so put down one vertebra at a time when lowering, and then lift up one vertebra at a time, keeping that lower back down even when your arms are going overhead. Keeping your ribs down, don't flare your ribs out when your hands are overhead. Keep everything down and controlled. Exhale when you're up and inhale when you're down. There's no swinging or momentum being used, but very slow and controlled movements. Stretch out that abdomen. Take a couple of good deep breaths. We're moving into our next section, getting our band back again. Hopefully you put your band on more elegantly than I do. And grab your weights, placing them right on your hips. Going into a bridge position, get those toes and feet nice and close to your bum. Lifting up and lowering down. Once again, just as slow as the crunch, because you're doing vertebra by vertebra. As you get more comfortable, you can slightly speed it up. Now that that you have the movement completed, lift up those toes off the floor, balancing on your heel. It's okay if your feet are moving around a little bit. You don't have to focus so much on the planting of your foot, but rather the lifting of your toe. Lifting up your toe this way, you're going to feel it go right into that hamstring, and all the tension is going to be sitting there. You should also feel it on the front of your shin. Keeping your bridge up, go right into that racking, moving those knees in and out, no bouncing on your band, but controlled. Upwards, right above your shoulder. Lift that bridge up slightly higher and pulse. Keeping your knees slightly outwards, we're doing a pulse. So it's about a halfway drop and back up. Do constant form correction. The moment you feel you're dropping too much, get it back up. Replace those feet, replace your legs, make sure you're grounded in your shoulders. Those hamstring and glutes should feel nice and on fire by now. Relax those legs, kick, kick, kick. Let's get into our ball. If you don't have a ball, you can grab a cushion. Works just as well, or you can have no ball, that's also fine. Get some water if you need to. We're getting into our sumo squat. The ball is placed right at your chest, and we're going to go into some presses on the ball. Make sure your fingers are not touching the ball, but rather your palms. Your alignment is straight. You're not pushing your bum back, but rather squeezing your bum in. Nice and firm buttocks. Make sure those feet aren't falling inwards and your knees aren't falling inwards. Everything is open. Getting into some pulses on the ball. You always want to keep slight tension on the ball, not letting it pull back all the way. So even though you're pushing it in, when your hands are out, you still have a slight push in on your ball. Getting into some torso twists. Every time you're right at the side, you get a good push. Push in front, push on the side. Elbows are up. And don't lose your drop in that sumo. If you feel you're standing up too high, drop back down again. If you're feeling really eager, you can drop even lower. Just as with our warm-up, we're going into a windmill rotation with a side lunge. Switching your ball in between and pushing in the middle. Push and rotate. Nice and slow and controlled. Once you have the hang of the movement, you can speed it up. Eye gaze is following that ball. Well done. Let's get onto our backs, placing your ball right under your shoulder blade. So for the ladies, that's pretty much right where your bra strap is. If you're leaning back too far, you know the ball's in incorrect position. If you're leaning too forward, it's in incorrect position. You want to feel really comfortable. We're going to roll side to side, having that ball give our backs a good massage, and at the same time we're stretching out our abs and our chest. If this is uncomfortable, just bend your legs. Don't feel bad moving around until you find that perfect position of the ball. stretch. We're going into our stretching band now. Throwing it over your knees. If you are flexible enough, you can hold your knees. If you are slightly less flexible, grab the band, throw it over your shins, and then do a little egg roll. Stretching out those glutes. Opening the legs slightly more. Get a good comfortable position and then rock it out. Going into a circular movement. Imagine you're drawing a circle with your knees on the roof. Opposite direction. Placing your stretching band over one foot. If you don't have a stretching band, no problem. You can just grab your leg. Slight bend in your leg, targeting the hamstring. Nice flat foot. Moving over your hip. Grab your ball, place it on your knee and push out. So you're pulling with your band and pushing on your ball. Well done. Let's go to the other side, getting back into that hamstring stretch. Pushing the ball on your knee and pulling the band, getting a good tibial rotation. Last stretch of the day, we're going to place our band around our bodies, loop it through. Once again, you don't have to have a band, you can do this one without it as well, but it does help get the correct posture. So pulling your feet in nice and close, having that band on your lower back, and then we push our chest out. Getting comfortable in this position. You can have your knees pushing down at the same time. Well done, another class completed.